Okay, this is a first of a series of videos that I'm going to do that are going to walk through certain approaches or tips that I would have for different objects. So these are just the objects that people had already chosen at the time of this evening, like we asked them to. So you guys got lucky. You guys got some extra tips. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with this one, and I don't remember whose is whose. So this object right here is pretty straightforward, I think, for the most part. I think the main body is going to be pretty darn easy to get. I think of the only thing that's probably pretty hard to get inside the main body is probably this hole right here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with the cylinder. Let's also go ahead and I'm going to go to the front view. I'm going to load that image in, so File, Image Plane, Import Image, Downloads, and I think it is an image somewhere in here. Date modified, that's probably smarter. Okay, there it is. So I'll go and open this image. I'm going to rotate it, hold J to snap rotate, so it's 90 degrees. Scale it down. If it's kind of hard to see my model and this image is too high contrast and hard to look at, I can come to my attribute editor and I can bring my alpha down so it's like sort of transparent. All right, then come back out to my 3D view. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to match this shape to some degree. All right, so I'm going to come down here, scale this down. Let's go ahead and move this over a little bit to center it. I'm going to grab my vertices right here, go all the way to the top. The lid is going to be a separate piece. Let me go ahead and rotate this as well a little bit, just because it's slightly crooked. Okay, so I'm just going to get this main kind of thickness up here for that lip. Get that around here. Okay, now I'm going to start dropping in some edge loops to try to get this shape. I'm going to turn on X-ray so I can see it a little bit better. So I might drop in an edge loop right around here and scale it in. Drop an edge loop. I'm using the insert edge loop tool, so here insert edge loop. I'll drop this one down to here. All right, I'm just trying to match the main shape changes. I'll drop in the edge loop right around here, right in the middle. Okay, and I'll probably drop two more on either side. So I'll drop this one in, scale it out, drop this one down here and scale it out. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to go ahead and drop in the, take a look at the reference image separately. So now that I have the basic kind of proportions out, let me go ahead and smooth it just to double check it. And I might go ahead and grab this one and pull it up a little bit higher. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this background image. Probably have to come to the front view to see it, maybe. Maybe I just have to select it in the outliner. So let's go to that, or maybe go to object mode first. There we go, okay. So now I'm just gonna pull it over to the side and just use it as a reference image inside the Maya scene. Okay, and let's pull it over here. I might bring the alpha down a little bit because it's super bright. Okay, I'm gonna turn off that right there. I'm gonna move my object so it's sitting up on the floor. So I'm going to go ahead and move my pivot point. So edit my pivot point, press D, hold V to snap it down to here, or I could just left click on this vertex to snap it there. And if I don't want to mess with the orientation, I can just hold Shift and click on that vertex just so it moves down there. Oop. Press D to select that pivot point, and then I'm going to snap it to my grid. So I'm going to snap it up, and so it's sitting on the ground. Cool. All right, try to snap the grid. All right, and then it's a matter of me going in and looking at the shape and what's being changed across the surface to get those main shapes, right? So let's go ahead and smooth this out. And add a few edge loops, and I can always go back in and delete edge loops, which I'll probably do at some point. Come down here, bring this one pretty close to the bottom. Whenever you insert a new edge loop, don't ever put it right on top of the edge. So don't ever put two edges on top of each other because it makes it almost impossible to separate unless you like go into smooth mode, and so it's an easy way to kind of screw it up. I could create an edge loop up here, but what I'm going to do is I can see there's kind of like a rounded top up here, so I'm going to leave that alone for now. What I might do actually is I might go ahead and I'm going to delete all these faces on top. So in order to do that, I'm just going to select all these faces, click and drag, And so I want all these faces, but I don't want any of these faces. So now I'm going to hold Control and click and drag to unselect those faces. Press, delete. Okay, and then now if I press smooth, that top part's going to stay still, which is nice. And so looking at this, it feels like it's a little more, should be a little bit more bottom heavy. So I'm going to pull this up a little higher, pull this down a little, and scale this out and pull it down a little. Right. I can't trust my reference too much just because it has perspective in it, right? All right, and so the difficulty or the trick for this object, and probably if I spent more time planning it out, then I would kind of have a better plan for it. But there's a couple ways I could do this. I could just cut in a hole with like quad draw right here. But the problem I think I'm probably going to get is that I'm going to run into some issues with, well, let's just try it. Okay, I'm going to use quad draw. So I'm just going to, and let's go ahead and turn on X symmetry. There we go. So I'm going to start from here and just go across my object. Right. Now you come down to here, come down to here, come down to here. There we go. And then come across here, right? And I'm going to have to fix that to some degree, right? But I mean, it's something you could work with and you can certainly clean it up, right? I'll straighten that bottom right there. I don't have the proportions set for this at all because I didn't measure it against any reference. I have some ingons here, right? So I'm going to have to clean those up. So I'm going to go ahead and use a multi-cut tool. I can cut across right there. All right, and then I'm going to have to cut across on that side to make those quads. So just to kind of clean it up. This right here, I have a triangle. What I could do is instead of cutting it and merging it right into that vertice, so this becomes a triangle right here, what I could have done is cut it right below that, so it's still a quad. So edge, delete that. So let's go ahead and I could do the same thing over here where I don't quite have this connect to that vertice, but actually let's just leave it there for the time being. And let's go ahead and connect this guy as well. A couple of issues that I can already see happening is you can see curvature. So we talked about the spacing of edge loops and how they mess with curvature. What you're going to notice here is when I smooth this out, we're going to start to get this kind of flat bumpiness. You see that? It's kind of, and let's go ahead and assign a blend to this. Assign existing, or assign new material. Let's just do a Phong, sure. So you can see there's that bumpiness and there's a really gross lumpiness going on right there. Right. Part of that is these poles that I'm creating right here. And I probably, if I was to do this differently, I'd probably just merge these down to the center just to kind of get rid of that extra useless polygon. The only problem is, you know, moving this edge over, I'm a little uncomfortable with. So let's go ahead and merge these ones as well. All right. So what I'm going to do is, now that I look at it, it kind of just looks like I merged or just slid the edges along. But anyways, okay, back to the problem with cutting that, is that it's not really helping the curvature, right? So we were inserting edges and we were kind of accounting for the curvature, right? Like putting it in and scaling it out. But when we put in the other one, it did not do that. Let me go ahead and reset my pivot point. Oh, I have symmetry on. Okay, so I'll just scale that out. So it kind of matches the curvature a little bit. Right, these guys right here are not, so I could manually scale them out, right? That's one way of doing it. Another way I could do it is I could grab my the edge, and then I can go to Edit Mesh, Edge Flow, Edit Edge Flow. And I'm going to bring the adjustment a little lower. And I might not do it on these guys, right? Because I need this to be that particular shape. So I can come all the way over here. I'll go Edit Mesh, Edit Edge Flow, right? So you can see when you do select an edge, what it's going to do is it's going to try to fix the edge flow or the curvature of the mesh so that it's going to be kind of continuous to what it was before, right? And then what I could do is I can come across here, and I know I didn't clean this up enough. What I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this in a little bit. Oop. Control E. Right, I'm going to use offset, Control Shift left click to drag to get a little bit of increment, not a whole lot. Might need to pull it out a little bit, but for now I think that's fine. And then I can delete that right there. So I already kind of know this is going to look not great. You know, it's not bad by any means, right? It's definitely serviceable, but it's definitely has some areas that are not as amazing. We'll take a look at those. Let's go, actually I'm kind of surprised it looks better than it, or it looks as good as it currently does, right? So I'm going to try to get those shapes here. Okay. So I know one area that I'm kind of getting a lot of pinching on is this area right here, right? I'm getting a little right here as well, which is okay, but not great. You can see that it's kind of inconsistent, this thickness. There's a thickness right here, and it's caused by the distance of these edges, right, from here to here. And so I can kind of push and pull the vertices, and I might go to Modeling Toolkit, and I might turn on Transform Constraint, Edge Slide, right, to kind of like see if I can evenly space these a little bit better, right, and that might kind of help with some of the distortion. I don't want to put these vertical lines too out of place if I can, because it's going to really mess up the curvature in this direction, going in this direction. If these lines get too crooked, like if I start sliding it this way, you're going to start noticing it on the mesh, right? You're going to get kind of a bend there. It's not super noticeable, but it does kind of add up on your mesh, and it kind of hurts the curvature. So if you can keep like the lines as straight as, or up and down and parallel as you can in the parallel to the way they're curving, that will help. And so another thing I might do is I might slide this one up a little bit, and same with this one, just a touch, just to kind of ease the pinching that was happening along the top of it, right? Okay, and then what I might do is I might go ahead and, so this has like a rounded kind of tubular lip. A couple things I could do is I could theoretically take a torus, right, and then weld it to that part. It's probably going to be harder to do it that way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to insert an edge loop. So let's go ahead and I'm going to insert an edge loop. I'm going to pull that edge loop out. So actually, let's go ahead and, let's do that. Okay. In order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I can move it forward. Oh, let's turn off the transform constraint. I can move it forward. The problem is, if I wanted to essentially extrude it out or inflate it out, these vertices should be moving up this way, right? These vertices or these edges should be moving forward or out, and then these ones should be kind of pointing downwards, right? If I'm just using the move tool, it's just going to move it straight along an axis, so that doesn't really reflect really well what's going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, let's go to Mesh. What was I looking for? Oh yeah, right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the transform settings, and I'm going to go to the move tool, and I'm going to do my axis orientation to the normal. You'll see my manipulator disappears, but I should be able to still move it. Let's try component. Okay, Control Z. Let me do it the hotkey way that I know how do I actually do it normally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold, let's turn off transform constraint. I'm going to hold Control and then middle mouse click and drag. And what that's going to do is it's going to move the all your selection along their individual normals, right? So you can see they're moving kind of along their normals. If I grabbed these faces right here, you see the manipulator is not lined up with the normal or the direction of the face. But if I hold Control and middle mouse click and drag, you'll see it's moving along that object's normal. So I'm doing the same thing here, where I'm going to grab this and hold Control, switch the move tool, and middle mouse click and drag, and pull that out. So obviously this doesn't look great, and even with the thing I have in mind is probably going to still not going to be super great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try beveling it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click bevel, and I'm going to increase the number of segments, and we're going to increase the fraction a bit, and that does something. It's not great, right? I definitely don't think this is going to be the solution, right? One, it's too thin. I can come in here and like kind of thicken it out, but it's definitely not working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a different approach. Okay. So for this object, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this edge, and I'm going to go to, let's see, curve. Wait, not curve. Modify, convert. edges to polygon, edges to curve. Okay, so it's going to give me a curve. Right, so I have this exact shape, right, that I need. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw essentially a cylinder that will follow along this object, right? So let's take this curve. Let's go to my outliner. I'm going to hide this guy for now. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go control vertices. I'm just going to double check this and see what's what. And I'm going to go ahead and select my curve, and I'm going to go and do bonus tools. I'm going to use my bonus tools first just to check and see if this is working. Curve to tube mesh. Let me go to channel box. Yeah, channel box is actually what I want. Let's go ahead and change the width of this. Okay. And you can see there's some areas where I'm going to have to delete edges and clean it up, but this is going to give me a shape that follows the curvature of that opening or that hole. If I smooth it, you can see it's pretty darn good. So let's go take a look at this. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in, edit, delete by type, history. Okay. So I'm using the bonus tools. It's probably the easiest way to do it. I'll have a separate video for extruding along curves. So if you have a custom piece of geometry or custom shape you want to get along curves, then that's what I would do for this case. But I'm going to go ahead and just use this bonus tool. So in order to get the bonus tools, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to the Maya, bonus tools. And you come here and you can just, seems really big. But you can go there, they should have a download tab. Yeah, you can find on the Maya App Exchange, and essentially it will install it. And you just load in the bonus tools through the plugin manager, and they'll show up under the bonus tools, which I think is this one. Yeah, Maya bonus tools, and you just click on the ones that you want to load in. These ones are not loaded in, which means maybe I have multiple bonus tools turned in? Yeah, I guess I have multiple. I don't know. I'm not sure how I have the bonus tools. But here we go. So the problem is I don't want this to be, obviously these have very different edge flows around it. So I'm going to, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back my main object, right? I'm going to turn on wireframe unshaded so I can kind of see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to want to make sure my edge loops are kind of lining up with what already exists, right? So here, a lot of them are really good. So I'm just going to get rid of the ones that aren't good, right? So obviously one of these guys I have to get rid of. I'm doing Control D to make sure I'm deleting the vertice and the edge, okay? And I'm going to get rid of the other half because I want these to be symmetrical across, right? What I can do is I can go ahead and mirror this. So I'll go over mirroring details in another video too, just the specific settings for it, so I'm just going to do it pretty quickly. Let's go ahead and mirror. Oh, okay. Edit, delete all by type, history. Let's go ahead and now try mirroring it. No object matches name, so it probably has a strange name to it. Let's see. I'm going to go and get rid of all these. I'll just rename this something else. There we go. So I'm just going to mirror it with my default settings. You can see it's looking pretty good. So now the problem is I need to weld this to my main body, or my main object. Okay. So what I might do is I might, let's go modify center pivot. So this is in the center. I might scale it down just a touch, right, because it got a little too big. And I'm going to have to prepare the space that it's going to connect to. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete this edge loop all the way around, or poly loop. So select one, shift, double click the next one, it'll go all the way around. And I'm going to come into the inside, and I need to figure out kind of what's going to happen on the inside too, right? I probably actually don't really need to worry that much about it. I can just give the illusion that there's an interior by having like a turning lip right here. I might actually extrude the interior like a sphere and just connect it to the inside of the lip, but for now I'm not going to really worry about that right now or too much. So I'm going to grab this. Let's go ahead and combine them together. Mesh, combine. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab these edges and then go to bridge them together. So bridge, and I'll probably need another subdivision, so increase the subdivision, and you can see this is kind of not great. So I'm going to go ahead and use Control, middle mouse click, and drag to kind of get that curvature back. Right. Alternatively, what I could do is I'm going to undo that for a second. What I might do is I just might use beveling to kind of break up this and to get it to a rounded shape, because as we saw before, when we use bevel and we use a increase the segments, we get like a curvature to it, and I might increase the fraction to some degree so it kind of gets a more even distribution. And what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to insert some more edge loops and just to kind of like keep this kind of like consistent in terms of its depth. So what I might do is I could easily insert an edge loop and then I can manually move it, whether that's just moving it forward and then scaling it in, right? Or let's go ahead and make sure I don't have keep turning on edge slide. Moving that forward, right, and then scaling it in. Or I can use that holding control and middle mouse click and drag to move it along its normals. Another thing I do is before I insert the edge loop, I'm going to select my insert edge loop tool, open up my tool settings. I'm going to insert with edge flow. What that's going to do is it's going to try to automatically calculate the curvature of the mesh and match it. Right? So I press smooth on it. Let's go ahead and I'm going to get rid of that old curve that was showing up. So go to outliner, polycurve, delete. And let's assign existing material because they both have different materials. There we go. Let's turn off that. And it's okay. It's not amazing. What I don't like about it is I don't like this right here. So what I might do is I might use soft select and kind of pull it back a little bit. Oop, let's turn off transform constraint because I keep turning that on somehow. I'll pull that back out. Maybe I'll pull these parts out a little bit. I haven't been looking at my reference as much, which is not a good thing. I should have been doing that, right? So I should have been making sure, I can tell this is way too thin. I should have made this a lot thicker. So this is one approach. The other approach I could do is, I'll do it on the other side. Instead of cutting the hole and preparing it with the multi-cut tool, what I could do is I could also do booleans, right? So I might go ahead and select an object, and I'm doing too much work on this, or focusing too much on this person's thing. So I'm going to go J, right? I'll get my poly count that I like it to, right? So I'll just use this other one for reference for now. So I'll come up here. It's about, let's go to flat shaded, 12, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and make sure this object right here is 12 polygons around. Attribute editor. Okay. And so then I'd spend some time matching this shape, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do subdivision cap 0 because I feel like it makes it easier for me to select things. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and drag select and kind of shape this to how it is in the that mouth, just trying to get it as best I can. Pull all this stuff down. Scale these guys up here in on each other a little bit. I'm going to turn off my symmetry so my pivot point isn't, you can see my pivot point's kind of weird when I have symmetry on. So I'm going to turn on symmetry, or turn it off so that I can get it right in the center of my selection. All right. And something like this, not quite like that extreme. Right. And so the other thing I could do is I could try to get this, what I would probably want to do with booleans is, let's turn on wireframe unshaded so I can see the geometry of both. I would want to get my topology, if I can, lining up between my objects. And if I was doing booleans, what I could do is I could select these objects, and then I can select this one first, select the second one, and another video or another lesson I'll talk about booleans in depth. And I'll just go mesh, booleans, difference, right? And I can just delete that interior face. Or I might leave it for now because it can help me set up some things, right? And we still have to still run into the same issue where we need to weld on these this thick mouth that's happening here, right? So I'd probably do a similar approach, but this is just a different way of cutting that hole in there. And the problem is if I press smooth, it looks really, really bad. And that's because we have a bunch of n-gons and a lot of polygons that are just not going in the right area. So what I can do is I can use the quad draw tool, or not quad draw tool, the target weld tool. Let's turn on Object X. Right? I can merge these guys together. I can merge these guys together. I know I'm gonna run into some issues here, right? So I can see here that there's already an n-gon, and no matter how I kind of weld this, it's going to be stretching a little too much. So I have like a little bit of stretching here, or if I stretch it down here, then I have like N-gon there, so I might add another edge loop at some point. Let's, for now, just do it this way. We're going to do it to there. I'm going to merge these guys down. What I might do is just merge them to the center of each other. So select them both, select merge, and they're going to merge to the center. Might pull that out a little bit. And I already know there's going to be a lot of stretching and distortion on this one, which I don't really like. But the cool thing about doing it this way with booleans is that booleans are going to keep, when you cut this hole, it's going to match the curvature of the surface because it's going to find the intersection between those two objects. So that hole that I'm cutting, I know is going to kind of keep the surface or keep that shape of that hole. All right, so up here I kind of got rid of the main problem. Oh, no, I don't have, you can see when I press smooth shaded mode, this is separating, which is not good. So I'll just go here and I'll just little tiny mouse click and drag those guys so I can grab both of those edges, or just select them both in soft mode, and then I'll just merge them. Okay, and now I want to fix up these guys down here. Go ahead and merge those guys, merge these guys, merge those guys. All right. And I have a problem here with little triangles that are causing really weird distortion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just cut this out like that and get rid of that this edge right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and target weld this guy like that. And so now we have some quads, and I can pull these guys down a little bit. All right, and the interior is not good yet, but that's like another way we can create it. Now you can just go in here and I can like add a subdivision level here. I can, so let's turn off insert with edge flow. So I'm gonna turn that on. Turn off insert with edge flow. Get that so it's a little harder. And then I might select the edges that go all the way around, and I might do a bevel on that just so I can get a little bit of spacing on it. And it's still not what I like. I'm getting a lot of distortion right here because I have an N-gon that I did not take into account. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a stupid solve for it. It's not the ideal solve. You can see now I'm not getting that weird bend right there. Let's go to turn off wireframe on shaded. All right. So it's actually pretty okay. I don't like it up here. And that's probably has something to do with how stretched these polygons are. In general, when you're running into these issues with what's it called? Cutting booleans or cutting holes into curved surfaces and getting too much distortion, one of the easiest things to do is just start with, I don't want to move that, start with actually more topology in your base object. So your base object has, or your curved object has more polygons or edges in it. It takes a little bit more cleaning up, but you're going to have less distortion across curved surfaces, right? And I think what I'm seeing here is I might actually just not have these guys actually welded, and sometimes that just happens and you have to fix it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, just take a look at this. What I might do is, a lot of times if I run into an issue like this, I might just kind of delete the topology there. Let's do this one here as well, because it feels like there's something very strange going on right here. All right. And I might just go ahead and re-bridge these guys together. Bridge. And I don't remember exactly what was going on with these guys. Let's add a subdivision level. And I think I went like this. Something like this. Let me Control Z back so I can remember how I had the topology. Oh, okay. I had, let's see. These guys, division. I'm going to slide this edge down. Let's go to Modeling Toolkit, Transform Constraint, Edge Slide. All right. Right around there. And then bridging these guys across to each other. So I'm going to go bridge. Okay. I'm going to take this, bridge it. Oh. Let me turn off symmetry off. Bridge it. And I'll have to mirror my object at some point. Select all these edges, just close that hole. Then I can select this edge and delete it to get my quad back. And what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to delete half my mesh now. So I'm just going to delete that middle part. I'm going to select this middle edge loop that goes all the way through. I don't have to worry about it on the other side. So I'll go here all the way up. I just want to delete half of my mesh, so I'm just connecting both halves. There's another way I can do it actually. Let me go ahead and undo it for a second just so you can see it. I'm going to select my middle edge right here. That goes all the way through. Make sure it goes all the way through. I can tell there's probably a geometry issue right here, the fact that it's not connecting, which is probably what that problem was earlier, and I'll fix it in a second. And I'm just going to select an edge that's going to, the edges that are cut all the way through. I'll hold Shift, right click, and detach my components. So now my mesh is cut into two pieces. Let's take a look at this, these vertices here, or this face. So I can tell, I think, I'm having a hard time telling, but I think it might have to do with the fact that this right here is stretching so much. And I think that actually fixes it because it's not stretching this polygon across this way. But the problem I do have is this, now I have this kind of annoying little quad right here, or a triangle right here. So I could, add another edge loop. Problem is it's going to start kind of messing with my interpolation of this surface because all these guys are more or less evenly spaced, but now all of a sudden this guy's got like a really tight edges next to each other. So I might leave it. I'm just going to leave it for now because I don't really want to mess with it too much. Let's take a look at the vertices. Smooth it out, and that looks like it's right. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and mirror my mesh. Okay. And yeah, you can see when you smooth it, that doesn't look amazing right there. Something else I could probably do. Oh, that's weird. What's going on right there? Oh, it's because I created new topology. Let me assign falling to everything. There we go. It actually looks way cleaner than the other side that I did. So what I might do, actually, if I really wanted to make sure this is quads all the way around, is might actually cut another edge that goes all the way around, right? So I can continue this kind of in. Let me just cut it just to show you what it looks like. So I could cut it something like this, right? I think I'm going to have some more pinching issues that I was talking about before. Let me go ahead and just terminate it over there. Press enter, then I can delete that. And now I have quads all the way around. But I feel like it's not bad actually. I would just have to mirror it across again, but that's actually pretty good. And I like the results I was getting as opposed to this side. I still have to come in here and convert this like I did before into like that tube, so I can get that, and then create this tubular lip so that I can extrude and put it on there. And I think we're going to run into similar issues with this side, where because of the how close or how tight this is right here, we're getting kind of some pinching that's going on, that's like right along the boundary, which we don't really want. So what I probably want to do is I'd probably want to like do something like, see if I can delete that. Let's see if I can smooth that out. Just not use quite as tight of geometry there. It's still okay. I don't really like it that much. There's getting some pinching there, so I'd either want to kind of space this out a little bit better or pull it back. But this side is, at least the hole itself is looking pretty good. On this side, don't worry about the other side. Okay. So this edge over here, or this curvature, this lip right here, that's pretty easy to do. I can just add that in. I can see that it's kind of rounded out, like it's almost like a rounded top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few more edges, right? So I might add another one right here. I'm going to scale this one out. Let's turn off, I don't know how I keep turning on edge slide. Let's scale this out. Maybe move it up a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and use Boolean, and turn on the segments, maybe turn up the fraction a little bit. And so that's an easy way to get kind of like a rounded extrusion, right? And I can play with the edges and moving them around to get specifically what I want, but that's an easy way to do it. This right here, there's like kind of like a softer rounded transition, but right now I don't have enough topology. If I want to add, or it's looking good, but I'm not getting a huge amount of control. I could add edge loops in here, like here, and then like scale it in, just to kind of like help with that transition. Another thing I could do is similar to, let's go back. Similar to what I did right here is if it's like, if an edge is popping out or pushing in, when you chamfer, or when you bridge it, or not bridge it, sorry, when you bevel it and you go ahead and increase the fraction, or not the fractions, the segments, let's go make sure I'm flat shaded mode. I'm gonna bring this in a little lower. I'm gonna increase the segments. You can see it's going to try to match that curvature of that object, right? And so I can get that very specific shape that I'm kind of getting right there, right? Because it's kind of a smoother, quicker transition. I don't really like how quickly it's transitioning. It almost has like a hard edge. So what I might do is I might, slide these edges. So I'm going to turn on transform constraint edge slide and just move that one up, and then move this one down a little bit just to kind of help a little bit, so it's not quite a sharp edge. It's a little bit rounder right here, or pushed out, so I might grab this edge right here and maybe scale it out a little bit. Let's turn off edge constraint, right? So it's more of like a bulge. Let's move this up a little bit, right? Pretty much a straight smokestack. Then this gets into, I'll worry about these edges in a second, but it kind of gets up into, let's go to insert another edge loop. There's like a harder edge up here. So in order to get that harder edge, or that harder transition, I'm just going to put another edge that's kind of closer up there. Right? I haven't really been talking or worrying about these edges right here, which I really should be, because it's going to require more topology here to get those shapes, and that's really going to be affecting this big lip that I'm going to get on there. So that's definitely an issue I'm going to have to worry about. So a couple other things. Oh, I somehow scaled this object really weird at one point. It's kind of squished. So the wire. So what I would do is I would use something pretty similar to what I was doing to get the lip or the mouth. Is I would kind of model out something that has these edge loops or this topology going in this shape. Then I would convert that edge to a curve, and then I would use the tube tool to create it. So I might go grab this. I might go modify. Converts to polygon edges to curve, right? I'll go bonus tools, modeling tool, and then I'm going to do curve to tube mesh, and I'm going to go to channel box, bringing the width down by a lot. Let's smooth that out, and then we'll scale it up. So you can see it's kind of gets this really annoying topology here. So let's see if we can evenly space it out. I think what I might need to do is, what I'm going to do instead of, I think one of the problems is the fact that it connects back on itself, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select half of this curve. So going from here all the way back to this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert that to a curve. So I'm going to go modify, convert polygon edges to curves. And then I'm going to go ahead and go bonus tools, modeling, curve to tube mesh. Let's go ahead and bring the width down. Let's pull this down. I'm still getting some unevenness to it. And I think that might have to do actually, and I'm going to have to reverse it because the meshes, or the normals look like they're pointing the wrong way. I'm definitely going to have to pull this thinner too, because that's a lot thinner, right? And let's go and see if we can do mesh display reverse, right? And then I can just mirror it. And then I would do the same thing where I'd get like an object, like maybe a cylinder, and rotate it sort of like, let's see, J. Right. And I might pull it over here and just line up an edge loop with like that shape. I would get that shape exactly what I wanted. And then I could do the same thing where I just select this to down to like here, and then convert that to a curve, convert it to a tube, and then I get that little leg. And then I could do like some smart mirroring. So I could do, I'll have another video on this, but I could do edit, duplicate special, right? And then duplicate special, I could just make 3 copies and rotate it 30 degrees to get the exact same copy rotated around this 30 degrees. I'll talk about that more in a different video just because I'm spending too much time on this one person's video. Okay. And then the same, it's kind of the same principle for this one up here. It's definitely going to be harder. The nice thing about it is that this object has, or this bar, or this, I don't know, rebar, whatever it is. It's kind of like really basically welded together. Like there's almost some areas where they're just kind of overlapping each other. So it's pretty forgiving. Like you can just make this object here, just have them overlap in certain areas. And we can do the same thing, but instead of using the curve, the bonus tools curve one, we'd want to use a custom mesh if we wanted to get this shape right here, which we totally can. It just takes a different technique, which I'll cover in a different video. Okay, so I think that's kind of a lot to do it for just one person's video, so I'll stop here for this one, and obviously if you have more questions you can ask me about it.